My wife said she wanted a divorce. I was more than happy to agree. A few days later, she realized what she had lost. Here's how I tricked her. It was a Monday morning, and we were sitting at the kitchen table after finishing breakfast. I was drinking my coffee while reading the newspaper when my wife said, "Chad, could you put down the newspaper? I need to talk to you." I put it on the table, and she continued, "I'm leaving, Chad. I want a divorce." "Is that all?" I asked, picking up the newspaper and turning to the sports section. "I'm serious, Chad," she insisted. I ignored her, which only made her angrier. "Chad, leave that newspaper and talk to me about this. I have nothing to say except goodbye. It's no great loss anyway. You haven't been a good wife for over a year, so just leave." I put down the newspaper, got up, and went to the home office. I grabbed a notebook and a pen from my desk, took an envelope from a drawer, and returned to the kitchen table. I wrote on the top sheet of the notebook, "Tyren, thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank God for getting me out of this. She is leaving me." As I was about to put the note in the envelope, I had an idea. I took out one of the lottery tickets I had bought the night before and added it to the envelope. Then I wrote, "Maybe if you're lucky and win, it will be enough to keep people pleased so they don't cheat again. Good luck, Guy. You'll need it." I signed, "A very grateful Chad." I folded the sheet, placed it in the envelope, sealed it, addressed it, and handed it to Katie. "When you see him, give him this," I said. She took it, with surprise reflected on her face. "You know, just because you think I'm ignorant doesn't mean I really am," she replied. "Perhaps," I retorted, taking the envelope back from her. "Maybe I should send it myself. I don't trust you not to open it, read it, and then throw it away. Now, why don't you go pack your things and get out of my life? And since you're leaving, you need to be out of the house as soon as possible." "I'm not going anywhere. I'm not moving out so you can bring your lover in." I got up, poured coffee into a travel mug, topped it off, and headed to work. On the way, I stopped at the bank, closed our savings and checking accounts, and emptied our safe deposit box. Then I went to a bank closer to work and opened new accounts in my name only. Then I called to cancel all our joint credit cards and arranged for new cards to be issued in my name only. After that, I focused on my daily tasks. I stayed late after work, had dinner and a few drinks with my executive assistant, and mentioned I was back on the market if her sister was still interested. Maria laughed and said, "To hell with my sister. If you're single again, I want to be first in line." Maria had started with me as a secretary 10 years ago, proving so valuable that I promoted her to assistant 4 years ago and later to executive assistant 2 years ago. Once, on a Sunday, I hosted a backyard barbecue and invited Maria, but she had to decline because her sister was visiting from out of town. So I suggested she bring her along too. Tara was a voluptuous and attractive blonde, and on Monday, Maria laughingly told me Tara had a crush on me. I laughed and said, "Never mention it to Katie. She can be, and sometimes is, incredibly jealous." Now Maria was saying she was interested in me, and I never realized she might feel that way. "Okay," I said jokingly, "then Tara moves to second place, and you can take first." "I'm not kidding at all, boss. I'm serious. I want to give it a try." "Maria, maybe you won't agree when you hear what I have to offer." "What exactly?" "She wants a divorce, so I'm leaving her to it, and her lover." I have no idea what her plan might be. Her lover? She slept with the guy a year and a half ago, and I think she finally decided a few days a week with him isn't enough, so she's going full-time. "How long have you known?" "A year and a half. I knew from the day it started." "How did that happen?" "A friend of mine saw her enter a motel room with a man and called me. I hired a private detective to follow her for a week, and he got me all the information I needed." "A year and a half, and you did nothing about it? What was I supposed to do? Get angry and turn my life upside down? In this state, divorce is no fault. Everything would have to be divided in half. I'd have to sell the house and split the profits with her. I'd have to give up the pool, the hot tub, my woodworking shop, and the 3-car garage and move into some apartment. No thanks. I decided to just ignore it and let her cook for me, wash my clothes, and keep the house clean. How could you be around her knowing she was cheating on you? Would it surprise you how quickly love can turn to hate and then hate to indifference? I can't believe a healthy guy like you could go a year and a half without sex. Who said anything about going without sex? Well, Katie offered, I took. The frequency decreased a bit, mind you. I didn't touch her on the days I knew she was with him. Other than that, the only change was I stopped making love and just had sex. Do you have any idea why she did it? No idea, but he probably wasn't the first. Do you think she had other lovers? I can't know for sure, but what I do know is that in the 10 years we've been married, she fell into a certain mood 4 times, as I recall. For a while, she acted the way she has been for the last year and a half since she got involved with this guy. It's just a guess on my part, but I'd bet the other times were for the same reason. If she hadn't been seen and I hadn't been alerted, I would have taken her recent mood as another one of those female episodes. Maybe I'm wrong in my thoughts, but it doesn't matter. I know for sure about this affair, and that's all I need to know to understand she's a cheater. What are you going to do now? Wait. Wait for what? To see what she plans to do. Now she's on her own. I emptied the bank accounts, canceled all her credit cards, and told her to get out of the house. She wants a divorce, so I decided to leave it up to her. Since she doesn't earn enough to support herself and pay a lawyer, she'll have to get money from her lover for it. I don't know if he'll give it to her. I guess they discussed this before she told me, but I have no way of knowing. I'm just saying, if you're really interested in me, you'll be involved with a married man who has no idea how long it will take before he's divorced. Are you thinking about this the wrong way, Chad? How so? If she files for divorce, she'll be in control. You'll be served with papers, and that could be bad. You have no idea what she might do. They could order you out of the house and give it to her while the hearings are taking place. And if she files and claims mental and physical cruelty and gets a restraining order keeping you away from her and the house, you need to set the pace, boss. You need to be in command. Make her react, not the other way around. Besides, you'll be helping me a lot. Helping you? How? If you're going to wait and let her file, what if she doesn't? What if her lover doesn't give her the money to do it? That could put us in an adultery situation, and she could use that against you in the future. You say she cheated, and she says, so what? You did too. If you file, you're stating that from your perspective, the marriage is over, and what you do from that moment on is none of her business, legally speaking. You'll still be married until the divorce is final, and technically, being with me would still be considered adultery, but no court will hold it against you if it doesn't start until after you've filed for divorce from Katie. It seems I need to keep you away from me until either you or she takes legal action. If we wait for her, it could take years, or maybe just a week, but it would be under her control. If you file, you could meet with the lawyer early tomorrow and serve Katie with papers by Thursday. That would give me the weekend to work on winning you over. Winning you over? I'm serious, boss. What's the point of being first in line if I don't take the opportunity? She was right, and I knew it. So I took out my cell phone and speed-dialed Alex. Alex and I had been friends since 3rd grade, and he was a lawyer specializing in family law, a polite term for divorce law. When he answered, I told him I needed his legal services and explained my situation. He expressed his sympathy because he and his wife, Sally, were our friends, and he liked Katie, but he assured me he would take care of it as soon as he got to his office in the morning. He asked me to stop by at noon to sign the papers, and then we could have lunch. Then, just to be a jerk, I told him I wanted a restraining order. I lied and told him Katie told me that if I caused her trouble for leaving her, her lover, Tyrone, would take care of me. Alex laughed and said he knew it was pure nonsense, but he would do it anyway. You know there will be a hearing on this order within 10 days, right? I can get it and serve it, but there must be a hearing before the judge orders it to remain in effect. I know, and I'm prepared for that. But for now, the main thing is to get her out of the house and keep her out for a while. We don't have children, so she has no real reason to use the house while the divorce is pending. I'm sticking to the principle that possession is 9/10 of the law. There's no reason for a judge to order me out and let her in. That's what I intend to do. I told her to leave when we talked this morning, but I don't know what I'll find when I get home. She might be gone, or she might still be there. Since I can't be sure where she'll be, I plan to serve her the papers at her work. No chance you two will reach some agreement? None. Then I'll see you tomorrow. I hung up, looked across the table at Maria, and asked, "What do you have planned for me this weekend?" She laid out her ideas, and they sounded pretty good to me. When I got home, Katie was sitting at the kitchen table going over some papers. "Why are you still here?" I asked, walking to the fridge and grabbing a beer. "This is my house too. I'll stay here until I can make other arrangements. If you don't like my company, feel free to move out. Not on your life. Sit down and let's discuss what we're going to do." "There's nothing to discuss. I know what I'm going to do, and I don't care what you plan to do. There are things that need to be resolved, Chad." "No, Katie, there are no such questions. It's simple. You said you want a divorce, so go and get it. You need to hire a lawyer, file the papers, and cover all the court costs. What I'll do is fight you to the last penny for every little thing. We live in a no-fault state. Everything is divided 50-50, so there will be decisions to make about who gets what in this mess. I'll drag it out so your lawyer racks up costs. You know they don't work for free, right? You want the coffee table? Well, guess what? I want it too. You want the sofa? Too bad, Katie, it has great sentimental value to me, and I simply must have it. Why do you suddenly care about all this? Before, you didn't seem to care about any of this. You didn't even show emotion when I told you I wanted a divorce. All you did was tell me to pack my things and leave. That was before I had time to think about it. I looked her in the eyes and took a risk. I let you off the hook the first 3 times because you didn't want a divorce. I loved you enough to keep quiet and stay with you because you always came back to me." She turned away when I mentioned the first 3 times, which, as far as I could see, confirmed my suspicions. "It's hard to say why I stayed with you. I didn't file for divorce. I thought maybe I did something that really upset you, and you felt you had to do this to get back at me. Eventually, you'd end your affairs, and I foolishly thought it was because you realized you loved me and came back." I looked down at the floor and noticed the mess on my shoes. I thought this thing with Tyrone was just a repeat of the previous times, but now I see I was wrong. I've come to understand that you're nothing but a miserable cheat. If you hadn't decided to leave me for Tyrone and ended things with him, you'd be spreading your legs for some other jerk in 6 months or a year. Thinking about it, I realized I needed some kind of revenge. What I really wanted to do was take a thick belt and beat you with it until your skin broke and you bled on the floor, but that would only land me in jail. The only thing I could do without ending up behind bars was to make this divorce as difficult and expensive as possible for you. You're right, this is also your house, and if you've decided to stay, I have to allow you to be here. But I don't have to like it, and I don't have to talk to you. Move your things to one of the guest bedrooms and stay away from me." I finished my beer and went up to what used to be our bedroom to get ready for bed. I thought I had achieved what I set out to do. I had given her something to think about. She needed to discuss everything with Tyrone and make decisions, which would take time Alex would use to serve Katie the papers and secure the restraining order. I could be wrong. Maybe Katie had already met a lawyer and the papers were on their way to me. But it was likely that I had taken the remaining funds when I canceled the credit cards and when I withdrew the cash from the bank. It was about what I expected. If she had seen a lawyer, she would have used our money to pay him. Of course, Tyrone could have covered the bill. All I could do was wait and hope Alex made the first move. I got up and left the house before Katie came out of her room. I went to a bed and breakfast for breakfast, and while I was having my coffee, I made a list of people to call once Katie was served. I wasn't going to let her make me look like the bad guy. I was going to tell everyone about the divorce and explain why it was happening. At work, Maria told me she was really looking forward to the weekend, and I found myself hoping it would happen. I met Alex for lunch and signed the papers. He said he would go to the county building after lunch to file the petition. Do you still want her served at work? Yes. I think around 10 tomorrow morning. Call me as soon as it happens. I want the locks changed before she can get back home. I went back to work and arranged for the day off the next day. Before leaving the office, I called a locksmith and arranged for quick service the next day. It cost me a bit more, but I felt it was worth it. When I got home, Katie's car was in the driveway, but she must have decided to stay in her room and not get in my way because I didn't see her. I left the house before she came down and went to a bed-and-breakfast type coffee shop for breakfast. The waitress asked me, "Where's Katie? I always see you with her, and here you are 2 days in a row without her. You won't be seeing her with me anymore. We're separating." "I see," she said, taking my order. When she placed the bill on the table, she added, "My phone number is on the back." Not the restaurant's, mine. I was speechless as N walked away. 2 women in 2 days had shown interest. Why wasn't I enough for the woman I married? I would never know because I would never ask. I drank my coffee and read the morning paper, waiting for the time Katie usually left for work. Then I went home and started packing Katie's things, moving them to the garage. At 10:15, Alex called and said the papers had been served. I called the locksmith, and in less than 20 minutes, he was working. It wasn't even an hour later when Katie's car came speeding up the driveway. She couldn't miss the wide-open garage door and the big cardboard sign that said, "Katie, all your things are here in the garage." She stared at the sign for a minute, then tried to get into the house, but of course, her keys didn't work. She rang the doorbell, but I didn't answer, and eventually, she left. I looked in the garage and saw she had taken a couple of bags of her things. 2 minutes after she drove away, my cell phone rang, and it was Katie. "Hello. You're a real jerk. You had to embarrass me in front of my colleagues. It's better than letting you humiliate me in front of mine. What about that restraining order? I was afraid you'd ask Tyron to come and beat me up for being rude to you. That's why, and you know it. I need to get into the house to grab some things. All your things are in the garage, Katie. I didn't change the garage door code, so your remote will work. If what you need isn't there, make me a list and tell me where it is, and I'll move it to the garage. Stop being ridiculous, Chad. You're making this much harder than it needs to be." "I'm sorry, Katie. Causing you some discomfort doesn't adequately compensate for the years you tortured me, but I need to do something for my own mental health. Just be grateful I didn't turn violent. Goodbye." After hanging up on Katie, I sat down with the phone and started calling everyone on my list. Most were surprised to hear Katie had cheated on me, but 2 weren't surprised. One said, "You finally caught her, eh?" And the other commented, "I always thought you had an open marriage. She was always out with some guy, and you never mentioned it." I figured I could cross those 2 off my friends list. Katie's parents were the most affected by the news and tried to tell me I must be mistaken. I always liked them. They treated me almost like the son they never had. But I wasn't going to let Katie tell them her version and make it seem like it was all my fault. If that happened, they'd think badly of me, and I didn't want that. After dealing with the calls, I went through the house one more time to collect Katie's things, and then I made myself lunch. I had just finished eating when the guys from AR Security arrived. They clearly didn't trust me at all and had no doubt Katie would violate the restraining order and try to get into the house. I decided to install a full security system with cameras. After Katie's actions on Thursday at work, I told Maria we were set to go out for the weekend. She smiled, clearly excited. "Tomorrow night, dinner and dancing to start," she said, smiling back at me. When I got home, Katie did exactly what I expected. She took some of her things and then entered the house through the connecting door from the garage. The kitchen was a mess, broken plates and glasses all over the floor, and in the living room, several lamps were broken. But what made me smile was seeing her taking all my clothes out of the closet, piling them on the floor, and then urinating on them. All of this was recorded, showing not only that she violated the restraining order, but also acted maliciously and destructively. This was evidence I could use at the restraining order hearing. I called Alex, and he contacted the police. They arrived, took a report, and took some pictures. The next day, Katie was arrested at work and taken to jail. She was booked, photographed, and brought before a judge, charged with violating the restraining order and willful destruction of private property. To my surprise, the judge set a date for the hearing and released Katie on her own recognizance. Despite the chaos, my date with Maria was fun, and we scheduled a second date for Saturday. That one was also good, and on Sunday, we enjoyed a lovely picnic together. On Monday, there was a hearing for the restraining order. When the judge saw the security camera footage, he not only made the restraining order permanent, but also ordered her to replace all the destroyed items, pay for the dry cleaning of my clothes, and cover the cost of cleaning the bedroom. He gave her 10 days to respond or face jail time for contempt of court. Just to be a jerk, I hired the most expensive cleaning company I could find to do the job. To my disappointment, Katie managed to get the money to do everything the judge ordered. I never got to see Katie jailed for contempt of court. The next 2 weeks passed, and Maria and I saw each other often, but nothing happened beyond a few kisses, sometimes quite intense, because neither of us felt comfortable since I was still a married man. However, we were slowly approaching the point where things started to get serious. We didn't contest the divorce, and it was finalized in 6 months. It was a standard no-fault divorce, with everything divided equally. I refinanced the house and bought Katie's share. I had been saving money in a separate account for an unexpected trip around the world to celebrate our anniversary, and since she didn't know about it, I didn't give her a penny. She also had no idea about the last 2 certificates of deposit I had put in the safe that I bought with my last 2 bonus checks. I had one more small victory. Katie was awarded alimony for 2 years or until she remarried, but it was set at only $100 a week instead of the $500 she had tried to get. This was unexpected, and Alex told me it was because we were very lucky with the judges assigned to my cases. The judge who presided over the restraining order hearing and the judge who oversaw the divorce were not only cousins who apparently discussed their cases, but both had had unfaithful wives in the past. Neither judge believed an innocent husband should be punished for the actions of an unfaithful wife. Although they followed the law, they didn't go beyond what was required. Whatever Katie had with Tyrone clearly wasn't that great since 7 months after the divorce was finalized, she was living with her parents. 8 months after the divorce, I found myself in a bar at the Hilton, enjoying a beer and a steak sandwich for lunch. That's when someone took the stool next to me and asked, "Can I buy you a beer?" I turned to see my ex-wife's ex-lover. Curious, I invited him to continue. He motioned to Agnes and asked for a beer for each of us. After she brought them to us, he took a sip and put his glass down, looking at it for a few moments as he began to peel the label off the bottle. A small pile of label pieces formed in front of him before he spoke. "I didn't mean to ruin things for you," he said, still not looking at me. The night I met her, she wasn't wearing any wedding ring, so I had no idea she was married. She definitely didn't act like a married woman. She was at Bar Buds with a group of girls she worked with, and when I asked her to dance, she accepted. I bought her a drink, and she invited me to sit with her and the other girls. We danced 3 more times, and when I asked her out, she accepted. I fell head over heels for her quickly, and within a month, we were having sex whenever we could find time to see each other. Initially, we had to use motels since I lived with 2 roommates, and one of them was always around. We couldn't go to her place either. She claimed she lived with her disabled mother, which also explained why we couldn't see each other more often. She said she could only go out when someone else was available to take care of her mother. Eventually, I got my own apartment, so we no longer needed to rely on motels. Although our meetings were irregular, I was in love with her and planned to propose. I intended to buy a house big enough for both of us and her mother. But just before I could ask the question, a guy I knew asked me why I was dating a cheating woman. I was ready to confront him when he revealed that Katie was married and had a history of infidelity. It turned out she had cheated on you with his brother 2 years earlier, and when her husband found out, he ended things with her. At first, I found it hard to believe, but then I received your letter. I kept it for a week before confronting her, and she broke down in tears. She claimed she didn't love you, painting you as an abusive drunk who beat her physically and tortured her emotionally. She insisted she hated you, but was afraid to leave you because you supposedly threatened to track her down and kill her and anyone she was with. By then, I had done some research and realized she was lying, which erased any thoughts of marrying her. Still, she was good in bed, and since I had kicked her out, I let her move in with me, but only as long as she was willing to sleep with me. Everything was going well until the divorce was finalized, and she started talking about marriage. That's when I ended things. He took another sip of his beer and continued. There were rumors that I had known all along about our affair. He asked me why I didn't divorce her immediately. I shrugged and replied, as you said, she was damned good in bed. I decided to let things go on, enjoying the sex and the fact that there was someone who cooked, cleaned the house, and did the laundry. I probably would have stayed in that arrangement if she hadn't mentioned wanting to leave and asking for a divorce. He took another sip and added, I never thought I'd say this, especially to you, but I miss having her in my bed. He finished his beer, stood up, took something out of his pocket, put it on the counter, and pushed it towards me. What's this? The lottery ticket you gave me, I replied, surprised. It's a winner. This is your half. He handed me a cashier's check for a substantial amount, a very, very large amount. I waited to give it to you so you wouldn't have to split it with her in the divorce. See you around. And just like that, he left. When I got back to the office, Jan, my assistant, looked at me and said, You look like the cat that just ate the canary. Was lunch that good? I smiled. Lunch was awesome. Yes, Jan remembered. Maria doesn't work for you anymore, eh? Not in the office. She's at home, painting the room that will become the nursery when the twins arrive.